Welcome to session 5, which focuses on quantitative data collection. In this context, we will talk about the design of quantitative studies, about different types of questions, about experiments, and about procedure of studies. This first video goes into details about the design of studies. When it comes to conducting a study, there are essentially 4 tasks to be accomplished or 4 steps to be taken. First of all, it is a matter of defining the reason for the empirical investigation. What is actually the purpose? What is the hypothesis? What assumption do we have about the cause and effect relationship in a market? How precisely are these hypotheses formulated? Of course, all these things have an impact on how the questionnaire is set up. In this respect, this first step is very important in order to define the scope, the range, the extent of the empirical investigation. Next, the target group must be determined. Which participants do we have in mind? People often talk about representative surveys. This means that basically every subject in the population must have the same chance, the same probability of getting into the sample. However, this is often not necessary because we only have a certain target group in mind from the outset. For example, only children, only the elderly, depending on what products are involved within the framework of the research question. A third step concerns the sample size. How many people does it actually take? This has a lot to do with the idea of how strong the effect is that we intend to study. If the effect is particularly strong, perhaps 100 participants will be sufficient, because the effect can easily be detected in the responses. If the effect is weak, however, perhaps 1,000 participants, 1,000 observations are needed to identify a cause and effect relationship. This shows that some calculation is needed in advance to set up the empirical investigation accordingly. Finally, the timing must also be determined carefully. When is the investigation to be conducted? This may not only concern the time of day, but potentially also which day of the week, which month, perhaps even which year. All these considerations have to be made in advance with the aim of entering the market as prepared as possible in order to collect data and being able to analyze them accordingly. One aspect is particularly important when specifying the study design. Do you ask structured questions or do you ask unstructured questions? As already pointed at in the previous session, a structured study helps to obtain data rather quickly. The questions are closed-ended. They are formulated relatively formally. They can be answered quickly and other researchers can easily replicate them. This type of study makes it possible to achieve outreach, if necessary by cooperating with others or by carrying out the research in other markets in a similar way. Unstructured studies are advisable if you have not yet fully understood the core of the issue, if you are perhaps unaware of certain sensitivities, if you want to give people more degrees of freedom in what they say. The disadvantage is, of course, that replication is not so easy, that other researchers may find different insights. Therefore, it is necessary to weigh up the pros and cons. Do you want precision? Do you want simplicity? Do you want to be fast? Or, on the other hand, do you prefer more depth while also accepting a certain degree of uncertainty? Nowadays, data collection is supported by a number of different software programs. One software, widely used in the university context, is Uniparc. Uniparc is relatively easy to program. It is basically a platform in which you can develop a questionnaire by entering text, selecting question types, and specifying study designs. And it allows you to reach out relatively quickly and easily. Your study participants eventually get access to the study on the internet, where they then can provide you with their input. The software also allows you to program your own question types. In the lecture, we'll have a closer look at Uniparc along with other survey software tools.